As we know, one of the key pillars of the country's economic blueprint, that's Vision 2030, is the tourism sector. Where is Kenya right now, especially after the post-election violence? For an insight into this, we've got the Tourism Minister, Honorable Najib Balala. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Before we get into the nitty-gritty, let me first congratulate you. Earlier this year, you won the Best African Tourism Minister, and also just recently you've become the Vice Chairman of the Executive Council of the United Nations World Tourism Organization. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Clearly you've been working hard with all these awards you're winning.
Well, that's the responsibility I was given to do.
That's good.
Kazi yanze.
Where have we reached right now as Kenya in terms of our image, especially after the post-election violence?
Well, we're working very hard. We're investing a lot of money in advertising and promotion and positioning Kenya right. The unfortunate thing is that we have to invest a lot as a nation is in two fields. One is security, both perceived and reality. The second is infrastructure. Infrastructure we have done very well. Security, we are yet to do a lot of things. That's why I said the agenda about reforming the police is not about an international pressure agenda. It should be because it matters for our economy, not only for tourism, but for our Kenyan citizens and also investors in this country.
You mentioned security, which is important, and also infrastructure, but there's another thing also called the money in the pockets.
Yes.
After the post-election violence, when the international tourists took off, the sector now turned to look inwards at Kenyans in terms of cost, but it's still not affordable. What is being done to attract the local tourists?
Well, last week I appointed a task force to look at the domestic tourism strategy. What do we do as a nation? The second is how do we bridge the low season, April up to July. Normally, hotels go as low as 10 to 15%, and most of the hotels at the coast close down. And that sends our people on redundancy, the cost of training as well, and also, why should we allow that gap, and a big gap? So we'll never have the right volume. So what my proposal, which is perceived to be controversial, is this school holiday to be compounded into one term, that is 2.5 months. So yes, we can be international curriculum and have throughout from September to June, and then be able to have these 3 months compounded holidays. Why I say that is because when we all go on holidays now, we go in December or we go in August. There's a high season for tourism, as well becomes very expensive for Kenyans to afford. Kenyans will never afford. But it's not about just going for holiday, it's about knowledge of your nation. I mean, young people, we don't have this culture about taking hitchhiking to go to Turkana to discover, to see other parts of the nation. And we don't have to stay in a 3 or 5-star hotel. We have now, we are developing a strategy to give incentive to build hotels of 1, 2, and 3-star hotels, categories. At the moment, the ones we have emphasized is 3-star and 5-star hotels. So that you cannot afford for the ordinary mwananchi. So why don't we build the 1, 2, and 3-star categories where ordinary Kenyans can be able to afford? It's not about just a hotel. It's about cleanliness of the room. It's about security of the room. And it's about just the decency and having the same framework and standards of a hospitality industry.
But some Kenyans now are listening and saying, yes, we want to go, but we want the 4, 5, 6, 7-star hotel.
They have to pay for it.
They'll pay for it, but is anything being done to reduce the charges for us Kenyans?
I want people to understand there's nothing like preference. Why should it be preference? You're eating the same food, using the same bed. Let's look at affordability.
Because it's our country.
Yes, it's our country, yes, but also you're discriminating. In today's global village, we have to bring standards to the same. I have appointed a task force to look at how do we give incentives for domestic tourism. That team has 60 days to produce a report. So the year 2010 will be declared to be the year of domestic tourism. Why I say that? We've seen during the post-election violence, what helped us most was domestic tourists. And if we invest much more, and we have a big population which is middle class, and not only in Kenya but in Africa, why don't we start attracting this middle class in Kenya and in Africa, rather of depending on the so sensitive European and American clientele? Although we can't avoid them, those are our traditional markets, we are now diversifying to Russia, the Middle East, Eastern Europe, India and Africa. So our strategy is to go to new source markets and still strengthen the current traditional markets.
So 2010 domestic tourism, where can I go on holiday next year at a better, cheaper, affordable
I should
rate?
take you to Turkana.
Turkana?
Yeah, it can be as primitive as it is, but I can tell you, like Turkana, if you go there, is magical. And it's the magical Kenya that we need to discover.
Mheshimiwa, before I let you go, you are in the cabinet. I must ask you, what is your take on this one man, one vote story that we highlighted today on Sunday Live?
I think what is required today is affirmative action. There are some areas and some regions which have been marginalized throughout. We need to bring those areas to the same level as others and then work from there. I think let's look at this country not for us to gain as a region, but for the country as a country to gain. I think if we just go in a narrow-minded way, we're not going to help this country. We are going just to want to have more voice and more power, but against the others. I think we are working on a democracy that is inclusive, and that not a democracy that is just want to, the winners takes it all. No, that era is gone.
But don't you think it's a bit too late for us to be discussing 2012 succession? I mean, we have other things like you've been working hard to reboost our tourism sector. Don't you think it's just too early?
Declaration is too early. Ambition is a right.
Okay.
To have an ambition on 2012 should be a right of every individual who believes in democracy. As well, those parties that condemn individuals from having ambitions, those parties should be dismantled because they break the essence of democracy. I believe we create political parties as vehicles for change and vehicles for freedom and liberty in our nation.
We'll have to have you here to go more into that. But as you tell us goodbye, how is the ODM party doing?
Well, it's there. It's struggling like everybody else. Unfortunately, we have not known how to nurture political movements to be able to check both the executive and also to look for the future. I think we have used political parties just to empower politicians. Yes. You see political parties are only active during campaigns. After the campaigns, they are almost dead. And if you look at every political party, they're just active when there is a controversy. They want to marshal their soldiers. That's all. Well, it's unfortunate.
We are watching, and we'll have you in the studios to keep telling us what's going on.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa, and congratulations again on your awards. You're watching Sunday Live as usual. We welcome your comments on all the stories. 2442 is our texting line.